Good afternoon. Thank you for being with us today. The Greater Mount Airy Chamber of Commerce is pleased to present to you the State of the County Address. I'm truly honored to be part and to welcome you to this State of the County Address. For the past 5 years, I have diligently followed county government, and it is not only fascinating, it is most definitely a tiresome machine, so I applaud those who take part. I've often said that our county manager has the hardest job in this community, but our county manager performs daily with grace, dignity, and integrity, and we are very fortunate to have him as our county manager. I believe that our county, as well as many of our municipalities, are at a pinnacle tipping point, and that I look forward to hearing from him today the direction that he believes that we're headed. Before I get started, I would like to extend an appreciation to the Chamber of Commerce staff and to the Public Policy Committee for producing this event, to White Sulphur Springs for hosting us, and 13 Bones for providing our meal. This beautiful county of ours is blessed with beautiful venues, talented employees, and collaborative businesses that allow us to have events such as this. Before we move into lunch, I'd like to recognize our newly appointed interim Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, Dr. Steve Yoakley. Steve, where are you? He's there. Steve asked that I express his appreciation for the honor and privilege of being asked to serve the Greater Mount Airy Chamber of Commerce. In this capacity, he's looking forward to working with the highly motivated, enthusiastic staff and with each member of the chamber so that we can continue to have positive communications and collaborations in our community. I would also like to take a moment to step off script, and Steve, I'm sorry to do this to you because I know you really didn't want this spot right here because it truly is the hot seat. You recently left the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors after serving from 2014 to 2022. He wasn't able to join us for the end of year meeting to be recognized, so I ask that you please come forward for just a moment. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and its members for your years of service to the Chamber of Commerce, and appreciate the fact that you didn't mind having a short retirement. Again, we as the Public Policy Committee and the Board of the Chamber of Commerce appreciate your desire and attendance today and to learn about the county. We appreciate the folks that are here with us. We also have a couple folks that I want to recognize before we do move into lunch that are of great importance to the success of the county. If you will, please rise when I call your name. Chairman of the Surry County Board of Commissioners, Eddie Harris. Vice Chairman of the County Commissioners, Van Tucker. Surry County Commissioner Larry Johnson. Surry County Commissioner Mark Marion. Surry County Assistant County Manager Sandra Snow. Mount Airy City Manager Stan Farmer. Mount Airy City Commissioner Phil Thacker. Mount Airy City Commissioner Chad Hutchins, and Dobson Town Manager Jeff Sedlicek. Again, we thank you for being here. And I'm going to allow you folks to start your lunch because that's really what you came for, right? Great.
Hey, y'all. Hello, Surry County. Welcome, everybody. Happy afternoon. Thank you all for coming. I hope lunch was delicious. Mine was. So my name is Tonda Phillips, and I'm the Public Policy Committee Chairman for 2023. So I got voluntold into this position. Thank you, Jordan. We're excited. The Public Policy Committee is excited to bring programs like this to the community that allow our members to engage with local government. So I want to first thank the people who make this type of event possible, which are our sponsors. So as I say your name, please stand. United Fund of Surrey, Campbell Law Group, Moore and Associates Engineering and Consulting, and a special recognition to our presenting sponsor, Bayfront Development. So please join me in a round of applause for this fantastic group of supporters. And now I'll have Ron Sutphin come up and introduce our keynote speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Tonda. Thank you to the Mount Airy Chamber for giving us this opportunity. I know many of you came today just to hear me give my introduction, but I ask that you please stay for the guest speaker. He's put a lot of time and effort into this. No, when this opportunity came about, we jumped at the chance not only to tell you about our real estate firm, but more importantly because of our relationship with Chris Knopf, more specifically mine. So I thought I'd take you back for real quick. If you want to know about our real estate firm, there's table tents spread all around here that the chamber put out for us. So full service real estate development firm, brokerage, site development, build to suit, et cetera, et cetera. You can look all that up on a website, and I know many of you, so if you need our services, call us. But more importantly, let's talk about why we're here today. 1999, springtime. I'm at Appalachian State University. I want to apply for a job. I go to the coast. I apply for this job. I get a call back. I go back for a second interview. I'm thinking, 20 minutes from the coast, right off of I-40, this is going to be good. I'm 22 years old. I get a call about a week after that, and they say, Mr. Sutphin, sorry, you didn't get the job. Okay, no big deal. I get it. I'm still in school. I got about a month and a half left before I graduate. Then I get a letter. And I'd never got this before, but I actually got the Dear John letter. Some of you may have gotten one before. I've only gotten this one. And it says, Dear Mr. Sutphin, you didn't get the job. We're hiring Christopher Knopf. Truthfully, I didn't know how to pronounce his last name, so I didn't care. So I take the letter, and I wish there were a great story about how I kept it. I threw it in the trash can after I showed it to my parents and my grandmother. So a couple weeks later, if many of you remember, the Mount Airy News used to have, on Sundays, they had the marriages. Remember, you'd open up the page, had all the marriages on the back, you know, so-and-so, whatever. My grandmother says, Ron Jr., come in here, I want to show you this. She opens up the paper and it says, Color-Knopf. And there's this story about how this guy named Christopher Knopf snuck into Surrey County and stole one of our women. And he was moving her to this town that I tried to get a job in. So I was like, thanks, Grandma, for rubbing salt in the wound. And, okay, whatever. So I take a job with Surrey County. My first job, my first real public job was with Surrey County in the planning office. And we had a job opening, and it was for the director position. And I, at the time, was the assistant director. So then Commissioner Gary York comes to my office one day, and he says, hey, any chance you want to be the planning director? I said, nope. I'm like 22 and a half. I'm very green, and quite frankly, I'm not smart enough. I didn't say those things to Mr. York. I said them to myself. But, so he says, well, if you're not going to apply for the job, will you at least sit in on the interviews? So I said, sure, that'd be awesome. So all 5 county commissioners, Dennis Thompson was the manager at the time, Wayne Drone was the chairman of the planning board, and Curtis Taylor was the assistant chair or vice chair, and myself. So you got like 9 people sitting in this room. We're at the government center up on the 3rd floor. We have 5 applicants, and so they're passing out the packets as they walk in. Applicant number 5, can anybody guess? Please, dear Lord. let him do something stupid so that we don't have to hire him, because he stole my job in Bregal. He stole some of our women from Surrey County to go marry them, and now he wants to be my boss. Like, I cannot get away from this guy. And every bit of this is true. So, fast forward 20-some years later, Chris is a really good friend of mine. We have kids that are the same age. My wife, he and his wife, we travel together. We've been places together. He's been a really good friend. But I'll tell you this, as good a friend and good a person he is, he's just as good, if not better, a county manager. So, no more jokes, all serious. Now your man of the hour, Chris Knopf.
Hello. It's good to be here. I forgot my notes, actually, and so I'm going to be looking at the screen a little bit. Don't want to offend anyone on this end, but it was actually 3 or 4 years before Ron told me that entire story after we've been working together. And I guess he could have torpedoed this whole thing for me from day one, and I appreciate the fact that he didn't, because it's been a great ride. I actually put together a State of the County 4.5 years ago. The presentation was at Pilot Knob Park, and I tried not to reuse anything, tried to make this one a little bit different. But the State of the County, to me, is a matter of perspective. My perspective is different because I am the county manager, and I know a lot of things that the average citizen doesn't. But I think if you were to ask anybody what condition is our county in, you get a lot of different responses. But the one thing that people seem to gravitate towards the most are the county's finances. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to move into some other subject matter, talk about some challenges, and hopefully we're going to bring things and uplift it at the end with something that Nathan's put together. So we'll get started. And my first slide here really just talks about some comparisons for Surrey County. We remain to be in the top 40 as far as population. We have been losing population for a few years. I'm sure everybody's aware of that. It seems to have settled down with this last census that was taken. So the birth rate and the death rate are still very far apart. But there are a lot of people moving into the community from other places, other parts of this state, other parts of the country, and overseas. So when you see that top population decrease, it's a little bit of a misnomer, because we are growing, we're just growing in different ways. Our property tax rate is very low. We're 81st in North Carolina. I think when I put this presentation together 4.5 years ago, we were 80th, so we've maintained fairly well. But to be the 37th most populous and to have such a low tax rate is a great recruitment tool for economic development, and it's great for our citizens. And you'll get a sense of why a low tax rate is really important for Surrey County closer to the end of the presentation. I always like to throw in the agricultural aspect of the economy. It's still king here in a lot of ways, where we are 14th in the state of North Carolina, $238 million a year in cash receipts, very significant. The average weekly wage has risen significantly. It's now $714. We're now 48th in the state. We used to sort of mire somewhere between 55 and 60. And our average age is sort of leveled out a little bit. We're still about 42 and a half. So not a young county, but for the most part, we're right there in the sweet spot of the state, 52nd. So I could probably put up 30 statistics like these, but these are the ones I like to focus on generally when I talk to groups. You can take the next slide. The next one, we'll talk just a little bit about the county's budgets. If you go back to the first number up here, you're going to see the county had a budget of about $79 million, and that was at the outset of what I call the Great Recession. And as you can see, over a few cycles, the county budget was drastically reduced, about $8.5 million. 2012, 2013 was my first year in this position. That's why I like to use that as a benchmark. And a lot of the heavy lifting by the Board of Commissioners had already been done to sort of get the county on equal footing fiscally. I've had the opportunity to see the budget grow again, and that's been fortunate for me in the timing that I received this position. But as you can see, 16-17, we'd only modestly grown by about $4 million in expenses. By 19-20, which is the year that the COVID outbreak started, we were at 75.9. But if you look just a few cycles later, this current year, our budget is $93 million. When I look at this, you almost look back at 08-09 and you look at those two numbers, and we're almost back into a growth pattern. If the recession hadn't been as severe, This is probably where we would be. So we've sort of circled back to, I think, a growth pattern that's sustainable. Interestingly enough, last fiscal year we were at 83 million. The revenue situation during the pandemic did not pan out like anyone thought. At least at the local government level, we prepared for the worst and did exceptionally well. And that's why we've seen such growth in our expenses with no tax increase. And we'll talk a little bit about what precipitated that in just a moment. 12-13 again, when I became county manager, we had a fund balance. That's our savings account, about 27 million. And that seems like a lot of money, but within that 27 million, there is categories: restricted, committed, assigned, and some of that money falls into those or a lot of it actually falls into those categories, and you can't just use it for anything you want to. It's for certain purposes. But that unassigned number, to me, that's the most important number in the fund balance, because that's the money that the board could go away today and spend, and if they saw a need, if there were a major catastrophe, if there were a large project. And as you can see in 12-13, $736,000 is not a lot of money. 2 years prior to this, it was even worse. So the board had actually done a lot of good work. I think the total fund balance right at the height of the Great Recession was around $18 million. It was not a good situation. Currently, at the end of last fiscal year, our fund balance has grown overall to $64.7 million, but even more importantly, the unassigned number is now at $17.8 million. That's a really good place to be. When I became county manager, it was my personal goal to see that around $15 million before I left here, and we have far exceeded that now. It puts the Board of Commissioners in a really good position should they need funding for something really important. Another takeaway here, over a decade has passed between these two slides, and there's only one board member, Commissioner Harris, or Chairman Harris this year, who is still a county commissioner that was a county commissioner then. So you've had a lot of people come and go on the Board of Commissioners, but yet they've all bought in to the same fiscal philosophy that the county inherited in 12-13. And that's not easy. Everybody who gets elected, they have things that they want to do to help their community. And they've all, I think, been able to do that, but they've also been able to stick with this. And our community is a great deal stronger because of it. Sales tax, I'll go back and mention the growth in revenue, especially during the pandemic. But again, just a few years pulled out here back to 12-13, 12.6 million. By 19-20, the year that the pandemic started, 16.3 million. Some good growth. It's going in the right direction. But in 21-22 last year, and really just, there's only one fiscal year between those bottom two numbers, it increased $5.2 million. And that's just the county's take. That doesn't include the 4 municipalities. That is unheard of. The new buying patterns that I'm sure most of you engaged in during the pandemic has increased the sales tax revenue coming in this county. When you buy from Best Buy or you buy from Costco or Sam's and it's delivered to your home, the sales tax stays in your county. If you go to that store in Winston-Salem, that sales tax is going to stay in Forsyth County. And the thing about the sales tax is it's the fair tax. Everybody pays it. It keeps the property tax. These kind of numbers keep your property taxes from going up. And maybe 35 or 40% of us pay property taxes. That's just the way it is. But the sales tax doesn't just help the county, it helps the 4 municipalities, and it helps all 3 public school systems. A significant portion of that sales tax has to go to public schools capital. So when you spend money here or you buy from home, you're helping all of us. I want to talk a little bit about Invest in Surry. Hopefully most of you have heard of this. It's a pretty robust community investment program that the county commissioners adopted last year. With all of the CARES Act and ARPA funds that we received, as many local governments did, it enabled us not to have to spend some of our own tax money on some of the services that we provide. Whether you like those programs or not, that's the reality that it created. The county commissioners decided they wanted to take some of that surplus and reinvest it in the community in various areas. The program will actually go on for the next few years, but some of what you will see is made possible because of those COVID investments made by the federal government across the country. Some of those I just want to point out that have happened already. One of the best projects for some of our rural community recreation centers was new lighting for ball fields that were decades old at Dobson and Mountain Park and Shoals. Also significant investments in the White Plains Community Center just outside of Mount Airy here. $807,000 total in those projects. Also at Beulah, investments at that community recreation facility. Also, we were able to partner with Surrey Communications. I know they're in here, right back there. We were able to partner with Surrey Communications. We put out an RFP. We wanted broadband and fiber expansion in underserved parts of Surrey County. And those at the time were Mountain Park, State Road, and what I call Deep Shoals, the closest part of Shoals to the Yadkin River. $1.6 million is going into those projects, and Surrey Communications is investing some of their own money in those areas as well, so it's not all county, but it's a great partnership. We are actually blessed with great internet service in the areas of the county that have fiber. For a rural county, it's unheard of. I have better internet. I live outside of Pilot Mountain. I have better internet than my sister does, and she lives in the Charlotte metro area as far as speed. And I'm not talking, it's not even close. I have 200 over 200. She barely has 25 over 25. So what we have here is a great resource for not just people moving to the community, but for business and industry. The remaining part of that money, there's 1.9 total in broadband. The state puts together great grants, and they invested a lot of money in it in the last couple of years. There was a company I don't know if Surrey Communications received a great grant. I believe maybe you did. Is that correct? No? Okay. There was another company, Zytel, which isn't a local company. They received a great grant award to provide some additional fiber in the Mount Airy area. And the county commissioners agreed with any of the entities that provide broadband. If they wanted to apply for a great grant, their applications to the state were made stronger by getting a local match. And so we agreed to provide local matches, and Zytel was the only company that was awarded, so we're going to match that. And then finally, $1.7 million for a new 100 by 90 hangar at the Mount Airy Surrey County Airport. That project, local contractor, Hayco Construction out of Pilot Mountain, won that project, and they've actually broken ground, and we're excited about that. It will be no debt service for the airport authority, but all new revenue on hangar rent and fuel sales, and we're really excited about that project too. This next slide is just about the nonprofit grants. I think this is one of the best pieces of Invest in Surrey. We had about 36 or 37 applicants. We were able to award grant dollars to every single one of those with one exception. But I just listed some of the ones here in the Mount Airy area. For instance, the Mount Airy Library, new technology, new computers and furniture for the library. Jones School alumni can put a new roof on the auditorium of the old Jones School, something they've maintained for many years. Mayberry for Paws will be providing spay and neutering services to Surrey County citizens at no charge. So some really good programs all across the county are receiving funding. And this program, Invest in Surrey, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So it's been a real pleasure to be a part of it. I know the board has really enjoyed the projects that they've been able to fund to date. So those are some of the good things, but there are also some challenges, as we all know, and I could talk about many of them, but one I thought I would talk about a little bit is something that we're focusing on, the managers and myself, and also some other leaders in the community. Just to show of hands, and I'm not talking about affordable housing, but who in this room thinks market rate housing is a problem in this county? Get a few hands. Yep. I guess prior to the pandemic, I would hear a lot of those comments from business and industry leaders. And then you would talk to realtors and to sort of confirm it, and they would confirm it for you. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about housing and tell you what we're doing to sort of maybe help in that process. But these next two slides are actually from the Surrey County Economic Development Partnership, recently engaged in a new strategic planning process. And it would be complete if not for the fact that we need to hire a new president. And we want that individual to have some input into the process. So we're kind of holding off until that runs its course. But I wanted to include these two because these two this survey and the results of these two slides went out to leaders in the business and industrial communities. And there's a lot of information on here, but the one I wanted to talk about is the one that's tied for fourth, and that is housing workforce. The question is, what are your main challenges to sustaining growth in your business? Housing for workforce was fourth, 19%. Now, if you go to the next slide, and this one I have to apologize, it's very, I couldn't make it any clearer than this, but at the bottom, housing, again, asking about housing, 48% of the respondents responded unsatisfied or very unsatisfied in the housing opportunities for the employees or the people they're recruiting. And really it comes about recruitment, getting workers from outside the county who feel a need, they can't find housing, they're not going to come here. Or they come here and they have to live in Winston-Salem or Kernersville or Clemens and places like that. So this survey sort of verified that that's the feeling. And of all these categories here, there's quite a few of them, this one had the highest negatives by far from leaders in the business and industry in Surry County. I will say up at the top, those that were satisfied or very satisfied, Surry Community College at 88%. That's exceptional. And just a real testament to the work that the College Board and Dr. Shockley have done over the last decade. So building permits, I'm going to have a few slides here to kind of explain how we got to this situation. This graph here, I know it's hard to see, but this is a graph from 1990 to last year. And that blue line represents the number of single-family residential permits issued in Surry County. So in the 90s and in the 2000s, the number of permits issued in that category was around 2,000 or 2,100. But in the 2010s, that number fell all the way to 801. And then so far this decade, we're at about 306, I believe. I can't see it very clearly here. And within that graph, you see these two gray bars from top to bottom. The first one represents the Great Recession. The second one represents COVID. So you can see when the Great Recession hit, housing units plummeted. And we've never, in the last decade and a half, gotten back to a level where we were before. Some of that simply because there aren't any contractors around like there used to be. The small contractors, they don't exist anymore. And what's happened is in some communities, what you've had larger conglomerates come in, home builders, to fill the void. We haven't seen that here. Why? Well, that's the question. Go to the next slide. This is about household income, and I wanted to point this out because in the last 5 years, household income in Surry County has risen 41%. That's tremendous. 54% of Surry County households now make $50,000 more. So the wealth in the community has increased. And typically when wealth increases, people want more of that American dream, and what's more American than owning your own home and owning a nice home? But those are some of the factors going into maybe where some of the demand's coming. Here's the housing stock, and this is probably the most concerning of the slides for me. In North Carolina, the percentage of homes built after 1999 is 34%. If you look at a couple of our benchmark counties, Wilkes County, for instance, is at 18%. Franklin County's at 34, Chatham County's at 47. Now Chatham County's in a little different situation. They got those mega sites going on outside the Raleigh and Greensboro areas, and they're seeing a lot of growth. So that's not a good example, but Franklin and Wilkes are good examples. So Wilkes is in the same boat we are, but Franklin is more along the state average. And if you look there, we're at 19%. We're just a tick better than Wilkes County. The other concerning stat in here is that 11.1% of the housing stock in this available housing stock, or existing housing stock in this county was built before World War II. So we've got a number of issues there. So what are we doing about this? Well, there's not much government can do. We don't build homes. We don't really have a tremendous role to play outside of providing infrastructure where needed to facilitate new growth. And that really falls more to the four towns than it does the county. We're not in the water and sewer business the way they are. But in 2020, prior to the pandemic, we were kind of sketching out a plan at the management level to try to figure out a way to make a pitch to home builders in the region and in the state to get them, I guess, more interested in Surry County. Because we couldn't really understand why they were not. We have a great industrial base here. We have great quality of life, natural resources. So we started working on that project. The pandemic hit. It got put on the shelf. More important things had to be addressed. So late last summer, myself and the town managers, we got together. We picked that project back up, and we formed a committee of realtors and bankers and folks in that industry, so to speak, and started talking about what we needed. And one of the things we knew we needed is we needed an actual market study. And again, I'm talking about market rate housing, not affordable housing. But we really didn't want to ask the 5 local governments to pay for it. So we actually went out and we asked the Surry County Housing Consortium, which handles housing in a 4-county area, not just Surry County, to pay for half of that, and they agreed to do it. We then went and asked the Surry County Economic Development Foundation to pay the other half. And so we hired a couple of really good consultants, and they're in the process of developing that market study. It's not complete yet, but a lot of this information I've just showed you has come from their work. The one thing they did tell us at our last meeting, I know Mark Rogers was there and Stan, is that they've already established that there is actually pent-up demand here for new housing. Not just houses, but townhomes, apartments at the market rate variety. So again, what do we do about that? Well, we're doing what we think we can. We are working towards what we call it a housing summit. I think it's really more of a housing pitch. And that is, we want to get the right people in the room from the regional and statewide developers, and we want to allow this community to pitch itself to them to show why this would be a good place to build new residential units. And one of the consultants we hired, we were strategic in hiring him because he does work for those folks and he has the ability to get them here. So we're really excited about that, and we hope it will bear fruit, and we feel good about where we are, but we are trying to tackle it from that perspective, which I feel like is the best that we can do at this point. This is sort of the other side of that coin. So people wanting to buy homes and sales tax revenues are great, but this is concerning, and this is some information the county commissioners heard 3 weeks ago from Wayne Black, who is our DSS director. So we have a population of roughly 71,000. Currently, over 24,000 of those folks qualify or are on Medicaid. That's 34%. Yesterday, the General Assembly filed a bill to start the process for Medicaid expansion in this state. It's been talked about for some time, and it looks like it very well will happen this year. I'm not saying it will happen, but it very likely could. If it does, that number will go to 30,000 citizens in this county out of 71,000 on Medicaid or qualifying for Medicaid, 42%. Now, just where we are now, that's 35% increase from 2019. And that's a sobering statistic. These are sobering statistics. You throw in food and nutrition households, 23%, almost a quarter of the households in this county are on food and nutrition services. And that's an increase of about 19% since 2019 as well. So we've got a lot going on in this county, and that's a major challenge. And good sustainable economic growth will address some of this, but it's still a challenge. We've got a lot of great things going on. It's almost hard to believe that the need in this county is this high. I don't understand this. Does anybody else in here understand this? It's Nathan Walls, county staff here, took these photos for me yesterday right down here on Linville Road, and usually it looks a lot worse than that, actually. This is a major, major problem. I don't know what this says about our county, but it's not good. A county that is so heavily dependent now on the tourist spending economy, this doesn't send a very good message. And it's not just Linville Road, it's everywhere. And I know we're not just the only county, but this past weekend I was just 3 hours from here. I didn't see any of this. I was in South Carolina, rural South Carolina. I didn't see this at all. And I looked for it intentionally, knowing I'm preparing for this presentation today. Well, what are we doing about this? Well, we've always had a nonprofit program at the county that pays per bag. I think it's $7 a bag now. But there just aren't many groups anymore that have the time, really. They're spread very thin, the volunteers in this community, to go out and do this kind of work. So last fiscal year, the Board of Commissioners decided to set aside $5 from the household availability fee, that's the landfill fee that each of you pay on your tax bill, and put it into a fund, which is completely legal statutorily, and start hiring third parties to come in and clean up the worst places in Surry County. And last year we didn't have a single taker. There wasn't a single entrepreneur or existing business in that field that had an interest in it. So far this year we did have some interest from a group out of Charlotte, unfortunately, the costs are just so extensive with them coming so far to do it. It's really not economical for them or us. County commissioners, interestingly enough, were talking about this Monday night, and it was one of the great things, I think, about the meetings now being televised. But we've actually had 2 entities reach out to us this week, and I think they're both very promising, who would like to help us address this problem. So hopefully we'll get a few more of those and we'll get something worked out. But this is just, it's almost an abomination. I don't know what other word to use. I just have a couple more slides. The last slide is actually a 5-minute video, and I'll get to that in a second. But the opioid mass tort, that's the master settlement that the Attorney General was involved in for the state of North Carolina. And I don't think anybody here doesn't know who Mark Willis is or members of his staff. And we've built a tremendous substance abuse recovery program that's addressing needs in the community that weren't being addressed before. There are a lot of great nonprofits in the community who are addressing other substance abuse recovery issues. We got a great network going. But I get a lot of questions now about how are you paying for this? When we hired Mark, he was one person. Now there's 10 or 12 of them down there. Transportation, prevention, we're working with the school systems. We've got a recovery to work coach now. We got peer support specialists. We're getting ready to, as it says there on the slide, we're getting ready once the new jail is open. We're going to have treatment options in the jail. At any given time, 85+% of the inmates have a substance abuse disorder, which is a major problem. We can't treat them in the existing jail. There's no room. So that problem is going to start to get addressed. But the master settlement, the initial master settlement, which was with the 4 largest manufacturers, it's going to bring about $9 million to Surry County over the next 18 years. And that's great because that's the money that will be used to fund these initiatives. There was a recent settlement with Mallinckrodt, that's another manufacturer. We're going to be getting settlement funds from that. We're not quite sure what. We've seen one payment, but we don't know if it's one payment or 18 like the other settlement. And then recently it was announced that the distributors, the Walmarts, the CVSs, the Walgreens have settled as well, and so the county will receive money from that. So it'll be more than $9 million. I can't tell you today exactly what that is, but over the next decade, those are the funds that we will dip into to pay for these programs, and it will not be a tremendous burden on those of you paying property tax and sales tax. And so that's one of the silver linings in all of this, if there is one, is that there is funding there to address it. So, got one more slide here, and I don't know how many of you know about Surry on the Go, but a year ago this month, in this room here, the county commissioners had their annual planning retreat, which is sort of the unofficial, or actually no, excuse me, the official kickoff to budget season for the county. And Nathan Walls, who's sitting right there with the headphones on, he worked in my office at the time, and he pitched an idea about a better way to reach our citizens. Everybody seemed to be consuming a lot of their information via short videos, whether it be an app or YouTube or whatever it might be. And he wanted to pitch something more unified that was Surry-centric. That wasn't just for Surry County, but the municipalities, school systems, nonprofits, community groups, the entire community. And so at the time we referred to it as the digital platform. And now it's known as Surry on the Go, and Nathan he's graduated into that role. He no longer works in my office, but he's very deserving of it. He has a lot of great creativity, and he and Peter Klosinski, who's sort of his partner in crime, I asked them to put together a video about what Surry on the Go is, so I wouldn't have to talk a lot about it. And they did just that. It's about 5 minutes, and when it's over, I'd be happy to come up and take any questions.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Go, go, go!
Let's go.
Go, go, go!
Information comes from all directions. Sometimes you have missed the news or didn't have time to get the information you needed. It is time for something local.
My passion is for public health. I believe in what we do. I believe the effects of what we do. I believe there's long-term effects for the community, and anything that helps my community, grow and be healthy is good for all of us, not just one person.
Honest.
They believe that recovery can happen, and they say it all the time, and they put it on their cards, and they go out every day with the belief that today they're going to help someone transition into recovery. That's what's going to make it work.
A TV station that celebrates us all. Watch us and we'll give you a good impression. We are all about Surry County.
Ricky Drone, the mayor of Dobson.
Hi, this is Sam Bishop, mayor of the town of Elkin.
My name is John Cawley. I'm the mayor of Mount Airy, North Carolina.
I'm Evan Cockrum. I'm the mayor for the town of Pilot Mountain.
I'm Eddie Harris, and I'm the chair of the Surry County Board of Commissioners. Surry County was able to start Surry on the Go, which will be our local TV station for all practical purposes, with a huge variety of information and a format that I think our citizens are going to enjoy. And it will be a great tool for economic development and to showcase our county going forward.
I love Surry on the Go. That's great. I really got online and started looking at some of the pieces that have been done in the past, and I really enjoyed it. I think it really promotes this area and the things that we're doing here in Surry County.
I'm very excited about Surry on the Go because it's going to allow us to communicate with the people of Surry County.
I love having Surry on the Go because we can show people what's happening in their own backyards and invite other people in to see what we have to offer.
I think it's something that we should be proud of, that we can have that, because especially, in such a small area as we got, population-wise, we don't have a big TV station, but it's great to have something that we can rely on, and we'll know the local news and the local activities.
See your local high school sports. Get the weather. We are also wholesome entertainment.
Be an easy way to make some delicious nachos.
We list Surry County job openings, find you a new pet, and so much more.
Hey, this is Lee with Mayberry for Paws. We want to thank Surry County for the Invest in Surry monies. They've allowed us to provide free rabies vaccinations for the canine citizens of our county. Thanks.
My name is Paul McKeithen, and I was in the U.S. Army from 1990 to 94. And to Surry County Veteran Services Office, thank you very much. My family thanks you. We all thank you for all that you've done for us.
I'm Tanya Jones, Executive Director of the Surry Arts Council, and we're standing here in the multi-purpose room of the new Arts Center. In this room, we'll host everything from class reunions to presentations to all kinds of events. And we are so grateful to Invest in Surry for helping us to make this possible.
For the new exhibits at the Mount Airy Museum of Regional History,
thank you, Surry County.
There is no fee, and you can watch us almost everywhere, phone, tablet, or TV. We will be on TVs in doctor's offices, hotels, local businesses, public lobbies, and hopefully in your home. Surry on the Go would be honored to be your go-to channel for all the information and news you can use. This is excellent for you, the viewer, and great for businesses that want to get your name out there. Surry on the Go has a sponsorship program to enable companies to showcase their support for Surry County. Our content is stories that matter to our communities. Our audience is everyone, tourists, citizens, and even Charlie. Surry on the Go is a free TV channel and streaming app that features local info, weather, high school sports, the latest meetings, services, and programs. The focus is on keeping you in the know. Wherever you go, Surry on the Go.
Isn't that exciting? Have our own streaming TV station. Ron, thank you. I don't know where he went, but thank you for not sabotaging Chris. Chris, thank you. As always, you do an excellent job at representing this community, and we are very appreciative to you. Now we'll have a word from our final sponsor of the day, Moore & Associates Engineering and Consulting.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Reed Plott. I'm a professional engineer with Moore & Associates. I'm going to try and keep this brief, primarily because I didn't know I was going to be doing this until about 3 o'clock yesterday. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, tell you a little bit about our company and our relationship with the county. If you indulge me, there won't be maybe 1 or 2 shameless plugs. But anyway, I've been an engineer for about 7 years now. Before I came to work at Moore & Associates, I worked in Winston-Salem. I worked on quite a few projects in Surry County, so I personally have a little bit of a relationship with Surry County. I don't live here, but I have worked here quite a bit. Maybe most notably, we worked on the Mount Airy Airport expansion about 3 years ago. We did a lot of soil testing out there, make sure all the soil got compacted properly. More recently, we did some testing for the new building at the Northern Regional Hospital. If you're sitting at the corner of Rockford Street and 52, and you look up towards the hospital and you see this big new retaining wall, I designed that. So about 7 months ago, I came to work for Moore & Associates. We have an office here in Mount Airy. We work primarily in the commercial and industrial sectors, performing structural engineering. Specifically, or probably primarily, we do a lot of cold-formed steel tubing design, which is just a fancy way to say carports. We have also worked on a few projects with the county here lately. Me personally, I came to work here in July, and my first week on the job, I was in a man lift overlooking the Main Oak Emporium collapse, making sure that the building wasn't going to collapse any further and it was safe for contractors to get inside of and start cleaning up and repairing. We also have a project working on designing some shoring for the old Rockford Courthouse renovation, if y'all are familiar with that. Also, Chris mentioned it in his presentation, the new hangars at the Mount Airy Airport. We have a contract to design those structures. That's just kind of getting kicked off, but it's in the wings. So I speak for the entire company, I think, when we say we enjoy working in Mount Airy, working with Surry County. I personally enjoy getting to drive to Mount Airy every day and get to work in Mayberry, I should say. So we look forward to working with the county in the future. We have a few programs where we help support the county. We have partnered with a couple of Mount Airy and Surry County schools to host interns. And we're happy to do that, happy to expose some of the students to engineering, let them decide if it's something they're interested in or not. So if y'all have any upcoming students that might be interested in an internship, reach out to us. We'd be happy to serve as the local county and citizens, communities, structural engineer. If we can be of assistance, let us know.
I have one last thank you, and that is to Nathan Walls for videoing this event, and so that if there's something that you want to go back and watch or share with someone else, if you'll pull out your cell phone and go to the App Store, the Apple App Store, you can type in Surry on the Go, and the Google Play Store, Surry on the Go, lowercase, all lowercase, no spaces. You can download the app to your phone or to your television, and you can find multiple activities in Surry County, including this one soon, on that app. It's a great place to find the basketball games you've missed in the past couple of weeks or other activities that have gone on around the community. But if you will exit through those doors, they'll provide you the information about Surry on the Go. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for supporting the Chamber and supporting the activities that make Surry County great.